Well, thank you guys for making this happen. The joy of technology has obviously given us a great gift to be able to do this in very unprecedented circumstances. But I just wanted to thank you guys for this and the opportunity to just be able to talk to you guys about a lot of the situations that have been kind of transpiring over the past 24, 48, or 3 weeks, as many of you guys have realized. But like I said, like with all the stuff that's kind of happened in the past 48 hours, all of us are trying to figure it all out and trying to get all the details as we speak.
All right, so now we'll open up to questions. We'll start with Mosley.
All right. Hey, Coach Rod, how you doing?
Hey, Matt.
Thanks for doing this. Can you speak to what's going to happen with the NCAA this whole spring? I'm sure you're working through that, but this ruling, they're going to allow these guys to come back, your seniors. I guess everybody can reclassify. I guess, first of all, you got to work through so many different facets of this, but what does this do to your scholarship allocations? How do you do that? How does it affect recruiting? How in the world are you going to kind of manage all this? Because while I'm sure you're happy about this transpiring, this is kind of some stuff to work through.
Well, the biggest thing is I think you can talk to every baseball coach in the country. And I mean, we've become really good at managing our rosters just because of the constant inability to know what's going to happen with the major league draft, with guys possibly getting drafted out of our team as juniors, guys we might lose from JCs, guys we might lose from high school. We've become really good at managing our rosters, and I think this is just going to be another test for us in regards to how we're going to do it. I don't think there's any exact way. I mean, I think I literally just got off an hour conference call with our athletic director and all the spring sports just to try to get some details in regards to some of the things that the NCAA put out yesterday. And it was a pretty blanket statement that they made. And so I think there's a lot of details that are in the weeds that we need to kind of sift out, because there's a lot of things that unfortunately play a big role in some of these kids' decisions.
All right, next question we'll have Matt Roberts.
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
First
Matt.
off, just how is everyone in your family on your team? How are they doing? I know y'all were in that quarantine for 14 days there, but how's everybody feeling? And kind of what is your team doing this spring?
I'll tell you what, thank you for asking, Matt. Everybody is doing great. Everybody's doing fine. I FaceTimed our whole team the other day, over the past couple of days, actually, just to kind of check on them, and I told them I want to see their face. I want to see how they're doing and what they're doing, and just make sure online classes are going okay, and just to see that they're doing okay. And they have a lot of questions at the same time, but everybody as of right now is doing great in regards to all the things. But you can kind of tell that a lot of our guys have not really appreciated the busyness of their life that they had as athletes, and now that they have pretty much all day, every day, except for some class time during the week to have things to do. You can see they're like, oh, I've been fishing every day, or we went hunting, or I've gone for jogs and walks and indoor gyms and things that they have at their house. And, and I told them to take advantage of this with their family and great family time. But I think everybody at some point gets a little antsy and they're ready to do something else.
Next question, Bryce Cherry.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Bryce.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just obviously, like you said, there's still a lot of details that y'all are working out. Is the plan, though, to welcome back any seniors who do want to return? And how many of them, you mentioned you FaceTimed them and talked to them. I mean, have any of those guys expressed, the interest in returning?
I talked to all of them, and I'll be honest with you, Bryce, I have not gotten into the details of them coming back or not coming back just yet. We've kind of had overview conversations about it. But the biggest thing is I didn't want them to start making plans, to start organizing themselves in those regards, just because I didn't know what the NCAA was going to do. And I didn't want them to kind of get their hopes up and then have it get crushed as some decisions were made. And so for us, we're going to sit together as a coaching staff and try to get an understanding of kind of where we are and how it looks. But these seniors have been paramount to who we are as a coaching staff and our team and their success. And I would love to have every one of them back, but I also know it's just not my decision. There are parents who have to pay for it, and there's things that really have to happen alongside that before all of those decisions are made.
Next question from Drake.
Hey, Coach Drake with Lariat TV News. Coach, a couple weeks ago, as news started to come out and drop, and it became a reality that the season would be over, what was the emotion, the reaction like from you in that moment?
Well, Drake, I'll tell you what, it happened so fast. And to be honest, I didn't really understand how fast it was happening just because I wanted to make sure our guys were okay. When things started to happen, I was literally on the practice field and I had my phone with me just because I knew things were transpiring and I wanted to make sure I was aware of something that may be happening that I had to address with our team. And Andy Stankiewicz from Grand Canyon called me and he's like, "Hey, Steve, we're on a bus coming down from Arkansas, and my president just called and pretty much just said that don't even bother going all the way to Waco. Go ahead and stop in Dallas because we're getting you on a flight and we're coming home." And so at that point, it became very real. And I told our guys that, hey, this weekend is canceled. And this was before the Big 12 had kind of taken its steps. And so we were hoping that, the Big 12 season was still going to go. And so, but once we realized that all of these were happening, conferences were starting to cancel seasons, it became pretty frustrating for our guys just because, we finally just got started and everything we were feeling pretty good about ourselves, and as I think a lot of teams were. And then all of a sudden, it gets pulled out from under you, and now you're like, okay, now what? And I think that's the hardest part is it happened so fast that the clarity of kind of how we're dealing with it and what we're dealing with wasn't really there. And obviously now that we've had 3 weeks into it or whatever it is now, we understand the severity of what's going on. So and I think I just heard in Waco that they just put another shelter in place until April 21st. So we got another 3 weeks of Netflix. So good job, you guys. Appreciate that. Go ahead and get locked in. But you know what? Our guys are pretty resilient. And I tell this to a lot of people. Athletes are amazing figures of humanity. And when I say that, they have to adjust on the fly. They have to deal with weather. They have to deal with uncertain circumstances. They have to deal with coaches. They have to deal with a lot of different things, travel, and all these things that sometimes are out of their control. And they know they have to take a punch and keep rolling. And they do an amazing job of it. And so that's one of the things I'm very proud of with our guys. They're like, all right, coach, just tell us what's going on and we'll adjust accordingly. And so I think that's a great testament to who they are.
All right, next question, Nick Canizales.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Hey, you just mentioned earlier about, the busy lives you guys live, especially during in-season. Now that everybody's quarantined and been at home, I mean, how important is it now to spend time with your family? Because probably in recent years or in a long time, you haven't been able to do that in this particular point in time.
Yeah, 35 years I've never had a spring break, and now I get to have like summer or summer break for unfortunately a very long time. It's been great, I'll be honest with you, in regards to that aspect. I'm a coach and I miss coaching, and that's the unfortunate thing is you feel, I don't want to say you feel helpless in the situation with your guys, because I told them, I want them on the field, I want to coach them, I want to throw batting practice, I want to hit ground balls, I want them to feel like they're doing something. I think our coaches and all the coaches in the country feel the same way, is that you want to feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do. But I think all of us have had an opportunity to reconnect with our families, just to be able to go out to different ranches and go hunting, go fishing, go be able to do things that we typically wouldn't normally do. I told my wife, I go, man, it's 4:00 on a Thursday. I don't know if I've ever been at home at 4:00 on a Thursday in the spring in a really long time. So what are we supposed to do? And so, just deciding what's for dinner, what to cook for dinner, how to cook dinner, have all come into play way too often. But that's just kind of what we're in. And I know all of us are in the same boat. But at the same time, we're taking advantage of it as a family and enjoying the time together.
All right, next question, Matt Mosley.
Hit your mute button, Matt.
Okay, how about now?
There you go.
We're good. Yeah, I was saying I really do like the hunting and fishing videos. That keeps us entertained. Yeah, so please feel free to keep some of those up. That's very good content. I'm just kind of wondering when you think about where this team was headed. I know it's really tough, but but you kind of had a sense. They had that great tournament, Minute Maid. I know you had a little bit up and down, but you kind of, you can't help but think, okay, where was this? And you don't know if you're going to get this whole crew back together. Probably there'll be a couple of guys you won't have. Do you have a sense of where you think this team or what they were capable of doing? I mean, you've been around some teams that have gone a long, long way. Where did this team, you feel like, fit into that whole way of things?
I think the big thing is we were getting healthy as we were having some success on the field. I mean, we had some guys dinged up. Jimmy Winston was dinged up. Will Rigney was dinged up a little bit. Trey Richardson was dinged up a little bit. And so we were starting to get some guys healthy, get them back on the field while we were still having some success. And I think that's where the frustration kind of hit, is we never were really 100% in regards to everybody being exactly where we wanted them. But at the same time, I could see ourselves, getting into postseason, hopefully with our starters and everybody intact. And then at that point, like everybody does, once you get to postseason, anything goes. But I really liked the depth of our pitching staff, the depth of our position players. There were a lot of guys were playing, and some guys like Kyle Nevin were playing 3 or 4 different positions, and some he was learning on the fly just because of some of the injuries. So really liked what I was starting to see, but it also gets me excited for what's going to come up here in the future. Hit your mute button.
Next
Hit your
question.
mute button.
Jerry Hill.
Hey, Rod.
Hey.
The flip side of the NCAA allowing the upperclassmen to come back is the impact of underclassmen or even the freshmen coming in. Have you been in touch with them? And what does that group bring that you're bringing in?
I'll tell you what, it's a pretty talented group. We have quite a bit of pitching and some infield help. They're very talented, and that's one of the things that we like. And it was the way things were going, and this would have been a great compliment to bring in. And so with our seniors possibly being able to come back, and with this group coming in, it's really fun to see, kind of look at the long-term effect of what this might be in regards to some of the talent, but trying to get all the details to sift out what it's going to look like in regards to how big of a roster is it going to be and stuff like that. Those are the things that I think all of us are trying to look at. But I like what we see on paper. Knowing that they're going to be able to come in here and compete and help us right away is pretty exciting.
Next question, Grayson. Grayson? Okay. We can go ahead to DJ.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, DJ.
With the MLB talking about limiting the draft this year, how do you feel that's going to affect the way that things are done going into next season?
That's a great question. Man, a lot of things have happened here, like within the past week, that have kind of really changed the landscape of college baseball. With it possibly being anywhere from 5 to 10 rounds, that's really going to limit the amount of guys actually drafted, and then the possibility of signing free agents. It kind of leaves a lot up in the air and unknown, because like this is all very new ground to all of us, and so we're trying to figure that out as we go. We have some guys that we thought were going to be able to go in the draft fairly high, and now with this, we still think they're going to get drafted fairly high, but at the same time, we're not sure what the aspect of it looks like, because now with this NCAA rendering, they get a year back, and so they actually have another year of leverage for them. So it's going to change a lot in regards to how guys make their decisions, where they get drafted, if they get drafted, and then the decision to come back as well. Like I told our guys, we've been given the gift of time. It's just a matter of taking advantage of it now.
All right, now we'll go to Grayson.
Sorry about that, Coach. I got kicked out. But, it sounds like you hit on a little bit of the MLB draft situation in that last question. But I was just kind of – I don't know what the exact question was, but I was going to ask about, with it getting cut to possibly 5 rounds when normally it's 40, how does that impact guys' decisions? And also with the compensation as well, it might not be as favorable to come out early.
No, absolutely. And I think this is something Major League Baseball has wanted to do for a while. They know that they were going to cut a lot of the minor league teams. And truthfully, they had a lot of teams in the lower minor leagues in regards to their rookie ball and A ball. And so I think they were just trying to trim it down. I had a talk with one of the guys with the Major League Baseball Players Association, just in regards to, should it be 40 rounds or should it be 20 rounds? Because 20 rounds, if you're going to draft somebody and give them money and give them an opportunity, 20 rounds at that point, it eliminates a lot of at least half of the guys that you're going to be drafting and putting into the system. And it gives some other guys a chance to continue to prove themselves at least for another year or two. And so I think that is something, because I just feel if you're going to invest in them, make sure you give an opportunity to show what they can do, because some guys mature later. But, with the top 10 rounds still getting slotted, the top 5 still getting slotted, and then everybody else is going to be, 20,000 or whatever it is they want to decide with a max of 20,000. It's going to change a lot of minds from high school kids. Do they go to a junior college and try their luck next year? Do they just go ahead and go to college and then take a chance in 4 years or 3 years? There's a lot of questions, Grayson, that I think a lot of us are trying to figure out. And it's going to be on an individual basis, but our job is just to make sure that they have all the facts and they make the best decision possible.
All right. We got another question from Matt Roberts.
Yeah, Coach, I guess just during this time, with the layoff and just, baseball in general, you need to have 9, 10 guys together to play the game. What do you suggest to your players to stay sharp, or do you just suggest to lay off a little bit?
Well, Matt, the weird part for me is that I really can't have them go do a lot. I can't say, make sure you're doing this and make sure you're doing that, because a lot of places we're in shelter in place right now. So, I think legally we're not supposed to be telling them to do anything. I want them to do stuff, but the biggest thing for me is just don't sit on a couch and play video games all day. I mean, I think there's a time and a place for that, for sure. But go out, be active, go for a walk, go for a run, go fish, go hunt, go help your parents in the yard, go pull weeds, go get outside and do something that's going to make yourself active. Because 1, it'll keep your body in shape, but 2, it keeps your mind and your athleticism there as well. I don't care if you're stacking bricks or cutting the yard or laying sandstone, whatever it is, but just stay as active as possible, because what you don't want to do is have a car in park for a long time and then ask it to be a Formula One car. So you got to make sure that it's active as possible, but obviously within the realms of keeping everybody safe.
Got another question from Drake.
Hey, Coach. So talking about the blanket statement from the NCAA, some of the questions and confusions that you guys have had as a staff, all these questions, the biggest unknowns right now.
Drake, say that one more time, buddy. You kind of cut out right in the middle of that question.
What are the biggest questions, the biggest unknowns for you guys as a staff right now?
The biggest unknowns is, I think for a lot of us, it's the draft. With the NCAA, what they said, all spring sports are going to have to deal with that. For us, the draft is going to be the big question, just in regards to who's going to get drafted, where they're going to get drafted, the financial compensation for those guys. Is that what they want? And then their ability to know that they can come back and have another year of school, I think is a bonus for them. If anything, this has just given a lot of people a little extra time to make sure that, 1, they can get their degree, which coming from Baylor is a pretty impressive thing. And 2, just to make sure that they don't have to jump at any possible offer that a major league team gives them just to get in the minor league system. They can be a little more selective if they want to.
Next question, Derek Smith.
Hey, Coach Rod. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Derek.
Hey, with obviously the guys separated, you can't practice, you can't gather, as you mentioned. Are there any creative ways that you keep the guys connected as a team beyond the Facebook meetings, or that you've seen their creativity just in terms of keeping everyone connected and on the same page during a strange time?
We just have the ability to, we have this, an app called Teamworks where I'm able to kind of send text message to all of them. I'll send them pictures of the field and stuff like that, just to go, hey, it's waiting for you when you're ready, type of stuff. And, I think a group of them is having a porch group, which is kind of like a Bible study here pretty soon. So they're trying to keep everything as, I'll say lifelike, but just without, the quarantine and the shelter in place, just being able to kind of see each other and kind of make sure that they're still staying in touch with each other is a big thing. As coaches, like I said, it's pretty limiting on what we're allowed to do and what we can do. But at the same time, I think everybody's been kind of waiting for this last aspect of the NCAA to kind of give us some answers so we can kind of go forward and then be able to communicate with our guys a little more specifically.
Next question, Jerry Hill.
Rod, I'm guessing, I think we talked about it before the year, but this would have been the first time where you coached Nolan, I'm guessing. What was that like? And I know the season was cut short, but was that a good thing for you guys?
Oh, I think it was a great thing for us. Like I tell a lot of people, I've coached a lot of people's kids and never my own. And for me, it was just a matter of being able to spend some time with them. I don't think people realize, how much time I've actually spent away from him. Just because when he was in school, I wouldn't see him because he was in school, and then he would have practice, and then I would get home later, and then he was doing homework, and then he would go to bed. And our time seeing each other was pretty limited just because I couldn't get to his practices because I had my own, or I had our games. And so being able to have him around, being able to have him in the dugout, for me was a really special opportunity. And I know my wife didn't have to go to his game and listen to my game on the phone. It was all in one place for her. So I think for all of us, it was a pretty special time.
All right. And then I think we're looking at a last question from Bryce Cherry.
So, Rod, I saw a Twitter video of Lofton hitting a pretty nice bomb. First of all, what was that pitch that he hit? And the demeanor of the little guy on the mound, I mean, he was pissed. Is that a recruitable guy? I mean, can you look at him?
I think he's a little young. I think the diaper that he was wearing, I think maybe had some like dinosaurs on it or something. But it was definitely a hanging curveball, and it had to hit at least to the middle of the street, maybe on the other side of the street near the garbage cans. But the fact that the catcher went and charged after him, and then he had his own words for Nick as he was rounding the bases was pretty funny. I'll tell you what, that may have been one of the funniest videos I've seen in a long time.